Hello everyone, I am Anand Toshniwal. Let me start with a question. In the last few decades, we have seen quite a few wars. The Gulf War, the Iraq War, the Syrian War. Now, what's common amongst all of them? Yes, it's oil. However, in the 21st century, water is the new oil. Today, I want to expose how China is quietly building itself for a war of higher dimension. I know I sound like Nick Fury from Avengers when I say higher dimension. However, China may not have the Tesseract, but it is after something even more useful. China is currently obsessed with fresh water and it is planning to use it as a geopolitical tool. But first, let's understand the interesting landscape of Chinese rivers.
Chinese occupied Tibet is the third largest freshwater source in the world after North and South poles. It has at least 10 major rivers originating from it. Despite this, China is plagued by severe water shortage. With 20% of world population, China has just 7% of world's fresh water. Now in comparison to other nations, its per capita resource is one of the lowest at only 2000, a quarter of the world average. To add to the scarcity, 75% of China's underground water is polluted. Hence, it is desperately after new water resources to sustain its growing need. Now do note that India's average is much lower, but we'll come to that in the later part of the video.
Now, let us understand the reason for water scarcity in China despite the presence of many freshwater rivers.
China is roughly divided into two equal parts, where 94% of the population live in one half, while only 6% lives in the other. Now, this 6% populated half is where most of the rivers originate. However, these rivers flow out of China into lower nations.
To solve the water crisis in China, it has come up with two solutions: dam building and water diversion. However, these measures have become a major source of conflict with its neighbors.
1. Dam building. China, with 86,000 total dams, has more dams than the rest of the world combined. In comparison, India has about only 5,000. By constructing large dams on international rivers, just before they leave its territory, China is redirecting the natural flow of rivers. Number 2. Water diversion. China, with the help of tunnels and reservoirs, has a grand water diversion program with three major routes. The eastern and central routes were completed by 2013, while the western route, the one in red, is still in construction stage. The western route is the most dangerous to India as it diverts water from the Tibetan rivers, including Brahmaputra.
China's dam building and water diversion projects will have devastating impacts on downstream countries like ours or the neighbors like Burma, Thailand. Let's see what it did with the Mekong River to understand the real threat it can pose to India.
Mekong is an international river starting in Tibet and ending in Vietnam, passing through 6 countries. However, China has constructed 11 massive dams right before the river leaves its territory, with few more dams in pipeline. Now, China started holding water in these dams, which led to severe drought in the downstream countries, while the Chinese territories remained green.
Now, let's focus on the real threat to India. China is surrounding us on 3 sides with a potential water war.
Number 1. Brahmaputra. China already has a major dam on Brahmaputra with a few more on its way. Let's understand how China uses these dams against us. Remember the Doklam conflict in 2017? Because of that, China refused to share water data with us. This led to major floods in Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, uprooting thousands of Indian lives. Moreover, in 2017, a tributary of Brahmaputra turned backwards for the first time in history because China was building a tunnel to divert its water. Number 2. Nepal. The recent low in India-Nepal relations is mainly due to Chinese influence. China has already convinced Nepal to make Chinese language compulsory in many of its schools. Moreover, it plans to build a massive dam on the Sun Kosi River, which flows directly into India near Bihar. It's only a matter of time before more dams are announced on the other rivers which flow into India. Number 3. Indus. China has agreed to build large dams not just on the Tibetan side of Indus but also in Pak occupied Kashmir. In fact, if the river is in flood, the backward water impacts these dams can come to India.
Now, what does the law say regarding suppression of international waters? The United Nations in 1997 created a policy on international water sharing. However, surprise, surprise, China was one of the only countries to have voted against it. China prefers bilateral agreements with countries so that it can break it at its own interest. In summary, China could use its dams as a geopolitical weapon against us. Here's my 3-step solution on how to combat them.
Number 1. Interlinking of rivers. India's great dream to interlink all its rivers need to transform into reality. This will solve the problems of flooding and will provide us water throughout the year. This will also help us improve our per capita water resource and bring it closer to the world average. Number 2. Hedge on the Pakistan side. India should increase its dams on Indus and Satluj and use this as a leverage whenever China plans something fishy, as a lot of Chinese projects in Pakistan are completely dependent on these rivers. Number 3. International pressure. India should use the current global anti-China sentiment to bring international attention on China's strategy at the United Nations. India should also reach out to the other affected countries to demonstrate a bigger anti-China stand.
It is time we expose China's usage of international waters as weapons and also prepare ourselves to tackle it head on. It's also time we start conserving water, because no matter how rich we grow economically, we still can't live without water. If you like this video, please do share, and thank you very much.